Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for the month of February 2019. So this is the horoscope for Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising. You go ahead and put your chart up on the screen where you can see it. All right. Well, next month is going to be a really big month as Uranus finally returns from its brief retrograde into Aries back into your home sign of Taurus. That's going to be really interesting to talk about next month. But before then, Uranus is not leaving. It's not leaving Aries without a fight. This month is so intense with Mars in Aries moving through a conjunction with Uranus and Aries, and as it goes along at the very beginning of the month, it's forming a square to Pluto in Capricorn. So you can see Mars in the 12th house square to Pluto in the 9th house to start the month. This happens around February 2nd that it perfects. And the way that I talked about this in my written column this month for Taurus is it has to do with your beliefs and the guiding principles of your life. The 9th house was traditionally related to all of those things that had authority over you, your beliefs, your inborn theology, your philosophies, and the rule of government, the law of the land, the scientific method if you're a scientist. It's whatever intellectual, philosophical, or legal precepts have some guiding power over your life. Mars in the 12th house, on the other hand, is more reckless, potentially impulsive and destructive. And so we're either talking about a little bit of a reckoning that helps you get back to your center philosophically, spiritually, morally, ethically, or we're talking about a period of doubt or confusion and even confrontation or conflicts surrounding your beliefs, or maybe even encounters with authority. What should or should not have authority over you is a real question at the start of this month, or what you believe and what you think of as, what you place your trust in. What higher power do you turn to for answers, or where does the authority in your life come from? Those are deep, kind of deep philosophical questions, but that's really what Mars in the 12th house square to Pluto in the 9th is getting at, and it's confrontational. It's very cathartic. So that energy starts the month off. Now, when you go forward in the month, you're going to see, I'm going to jump around a little bit in this reading. Around February 13th, Mars will then conjoin with Uranus. The next day after that, it'll pop into your home sign of Taurus in the 1st house. So first of all, whatever this kind of deep or dark or heavier confrontation is around values, beliefs, ideals, recklessness, defiance, authority, confrontations with authority, whatever's going on there, it's very internal, it's very deep. And then right afterwards, by the 12th, 13th of February, Mars hits Uranus, conjunction to Uranus, the rebel. And this is a moment of individuating, of claiming power, of claiming authority, of, again, potentially needing to individuate, break away, this is a moment where, the revolution is at hand. Or you're saying, I'm going my own way, I'm doing my own thing. I need to break free of something that's no longer healthy or helping me. Or possibly, again, in a more destructive sense, I'm going to do something stupid and rebellious right now that it gets me into trouble. Then Mars enters your 1st house in your home sign, where it's in its detriment for the next 40 plus days. Mars is then going to be working on you. And when it's working on you, it's either going to be, okay, I got to set things right now. I got to do this hard personal work. Mars and Taurus in your 1st house and sign. Like, I need to go to the gym. I got to lose weight. I got to get my stuff together, and I got to work hard, and it's not easy, and there's stagnation and inertia, and I've got to fight through it. And Mars and Taurus in your 1st house. Or it's potentially fighting yourself, being belligerent with people, dealing with another, theme of defiance and willfulness, bulldozing others, being kind of ruthless with yourself. It can also be a period that's more difficult or hard on you mentally, physically, emotionally. Just be careful of beating yourself up as well. But Mars is going to enter. You see that sequence. Mars conjoins Uranus, planet of revolution, then pops into your first house. That sequence back to back is also on my calendar this month for everybody. But in your chart, it's very specific because it moves out of the house of self-undoing, pops into your first house, which is your house. So there's some struggle with authority going on this month. There's some issues around anger or stagnation or self-destructiveness and trying to right the ship, trying to get yourself back on course a little bit. That's how I'm looking at it. Some very healthy confrontations and conflicts within yourself or with others. Again, maybe they're philosophical in nature. You can see this, for example, by the fact that another major transit of the month is the conjunction between Venus and Saturn in your ninth house in the sign of Capricorn. So Venus and Saturn in the ninth house also suggest coming to terms with something philosophically, or somehow agreeing to submit yourself to something, or the idea of a higher wisdom and a higher authority and the auspiciousness of placing trust in it, or potentially the end of some kind of agreement or contract, or again, sort of a conflict of values, beliefs, and even philosophies in relationships. Mars in the first house, again, can be very willful, but here it's being disposed of in Venus's sign by a Venus-Saturn conjunction in the ninth house of beliefs and philosophy. So I know, like New Year's resolution, right? You want to take care of yourself. You want to do the right thing, but you have some kind of, you're having an inner battle, and you're having a battle that's mental. It's in your head. You're going to listen to your higher self that's giving you the good advice, or are you going to, defy your own best inner guidance? I think that's going to be a part of the month. But I also think this has to do with gaining the motivation and finding sources of wisdom and higher authority that you can trust in to help you take a big step forward right now. So those are a couple of transits that I have marked off as a really big deal. Now let's go backward in the month a little bit. You can see on February 4th, for example, that once again, here we have we're at new moon time, another new moon. Here's the new moon, this time in your 10th house, in your career house. The whole lunar cycle ahead, you're going to see something new developing in your career or in your professional life. I think this is an exciting new moon in the process. I'm guessing that this new development in your career, again, has something to do with something you're trying to overcome in yourself, or you're trying to develop the will, the stamina, the power to get over a hurdle or to take the next step. And you're trying to find the appropriate motivation in teachers, or you're trying to break free from something. It's going to take some willpower. Has that kind of feeling this month. All right. So some other transits to look at. So on the 18th, another major transit of the month is also the entrance of, you back in the first house. There we go. The entrance of Chiron in Aries in your 12th house. This is also really interesting, right? Because Chiron is the wounded healer. It doesn't change signs very often. It's now going to be in Aries for the better part of the next decade. This is, of course, a house that has to do with self-destructiveness and self-undoing. It has to do with isolation and loneliness. This is the house really kind of our demons. So Chiron in this house is bringing the wisdom around Mars-ruled themes, anger, confrontation, hostility, violence, power and powerlessness, courage and fear, bravery and timidity, this kind of thing. A lot of healing and a lot of inner work you're going to be doing in the months to come. And I can't help but notice that Chiron enters Aries just as Mars is in your first house. So power and assertiveness, not always the easiest things for a Taurus, which is, a peace-loving Venus-ruled sign. So assertiveness, anger, aggression, control and lack of control, these kinds of things are going to become the subject of a period of inner healing that's very long, and it's gonna work you for a while. But this is ultimately, like Chiron, an opportunity to do that healing work and to share what you're learning with others and to put it into the service of your spiritual growth and development. So I think this is, a sign of some kind of personal hurdle that you're jumping over this month, or a sense of moving through a certain level of your own density and needing to visit what has authority over you and where to find the appropriate use of will. And very, very interesting. All right. So we go to February 19th, and you're going to see full moon in the 5th house, while Mercury and Neptune are conjoining in the 11th house. 5th house is, of course, the house related to children and pregnancy. In general, the 5th house was traditionally related to good fortune, things that happened that brought joy into life and were not necessarily, calculated. It was just sort of like, if you were to walk downtown and happen upon a parade, and it would just, light you up from the inside and give you a lot of joy. Just that kind of the accidental good fortune of life. It's also, connected to creativity and the arts, and, to sort of the joy of children, for example. So an emphasis on this area of your chart. But then you can also see Mercury, the dispositor of the full moon, with Neptune in the 11th house in its fall in Pisces. This is interesting because here's the house of good influences, like allies, benefactors, groups of people you share a lot in common with that help you push the ball down the field and pursue your dreams and goals in life. So allies, benefactors, friends, people who have, powerful people with powerful resources. That was the traditional meaning of the 11th house. So it's interesting that this looks like a moment of really good fortune, right? It has the feeling of good fortune because both houses were associated with good things. And the 11th house was also called the joy of Jupiter. The 5th house was called the joy of Venus. But Mercury Neptune can be very deceptive, and we don't always see things clearly with Mercury Neptune. So I'm putting kind of a red flag around this full moon because I'm not sure that whatever is being offered, even if it looks really good, doesn't come with some kind of hidden price tag, or that there won't be more than meets the eye. We could really wear rose-colored glasses and take up on something that looks really good, but maybe it's not. So I would be a little cautious about this full moon because Mercury is going to turn retrograde in Pisces and next month. And then we have probably, if there has been any deception or if things are not adding up, we're going to figure it out pretty quickly next month. So I would just be cautious around the full moon with what you're getting swept up in. That's my only warning there. Now, the last transit is right around the 22nd that I have my eye on, and that's Venus's conjunction with Pluto. Again, your 9th house. Philosophy, spirituality, beliefs, higher education, some kind of process is happening there this month, maybe even the subject of travel to foreign countries. There's some deep, transformative, healing experience that's going to happen in that area. It's not going to be altogether easy, but I think it probably has to do with friends and friendship and who you share beliefs with. And how many people I see per year who say that they're in relationships where their partner isn't spiritual, or they don't share the same values philosophically, politically, They don't like to spend time doing spiritual things. And this, person will say, I feel so alone. Or, well, if that's you this month, this kind of hardship in a relationship could become very pronounced with Venus conjoining Pluto. But generally speaking, the idea of relationships, wisdom, the feminine, women, and beliefs, and again, guiding principles, the search for truth and knowledge. These are very important themes, and there's a real moment of death and rebirth here with Venus, Pluto in that ninth house around February 22nd. So that's what I've got for you, Taurus. I hope that this was interesting, and I will look forward to hanging out with you guys again in March. I'm going to be in India toward the end of February, so my March horoscopes will be posted early. But I hope that you enjoy them, and I'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Okay, take care.